Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining us today. If it's your first time watching our Do Good Business mini-series for Legacy Purchasing Group, welcome. If you're regular, if you have any questions or anything, and as soon as you join, please comment below, please like and share. But today we are so excited to hop back on. I know it's been a little bit, but today we're talking with Holly Burrow. She is a business resource expert with 14 years experience helping entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized business owners. And today we're going to talk about how to prepare for funding. We've had so many small businesses and entrepreneurs ask us, because we are a resource, how do I go about it? What do I need to know? So today we're going to talk with Holly. Hi, Holly. How are you?
Hi, how's everyone doing?
Good, good. Again, anybody joining us today, please make sure if you have any questions, pop them in the chat and they'll be answered at the end. Okay, so Holly, let's dive right into it. So we originally talked about funding and how to prepare for it. So what are your tips for business owners?
So, when you're talking about preparing for funding, one of the things that you want to start thinking about really, really early on in the process of planning for your business is where you want your business to end. Are you building something that's a legacy for your family, or are you building something that you're hoping to be acquired by someone else? Because those require two different types of planning and thinking for the finances and metric building for your business.
So can we go into that a little bit? So what does that planning look like if you're looking to build a legacy?
Absolutely. So if you're looking to build a legacy, you're going to be a little bit longer paced in how you set your goals. So if you're looking for acquisition, of course, it's going to be really fast because you want to build something really financially successful really quickly so that it gets the attention of the right buyers. But for a legacy business, you're going to be a lot more slow paced and you're going to be focused on customer retention and building really strong relationships within your community and with all of the resources around you, because you're going to be leaning on them for the next 10, 15, 20 years to keep new clients and sustain the clients that you've already gotten coming through your doors and bringing business to your table. So it's two different kind of thinkings about how you pace bringing in new clients and how you pace spending for your business to acquire those new clients.
Okay, so is that the starting point when you start thinking about it, is how to prepare your future?
It is. It is. We always say, when in the beginning, you want to start at the end. So you want to start thinking about how you want this to be in the end, and then you build a plan to get you where you need to be. We want all of that type of thinking for your business to be incredibly strategic and be focused on how we get there so we can build a really strong path so that you're not what I see frequently with especially really small businesses that come to me in ideation is they're just kind of grasping around and they're taking whatever lands in their lap. They're not going out and making a really decisive plan about how to go and get the future they're trying to build. They usually have something in the back of their head as far as how they want it to be 5, 10 years down the road, but it's almost like they're afraid to say that out loud and the chances that it doesn't come true. So it requires a bit of bravery, but we have to start by saying in the beginning where we want to be in the end.
So you're talking about they're afraid to say it. So who are they afraid to say it to? Do you have different resources that you recommend they reach out to?
Absolutely. Everybody needs community. And one of the hardest things about being an entrepreneur, and I can say this as one, is that it is very lonely. The people that are in your personal life that love you and support you, they don't understand what you're doing or what it takes to accomplish what you're trying to build. So while they love you and support you, they're not the best resource to go and build community for your business. I encourage everybody, go out and network, get involved in small business activities, build a nest around you of other entrepreneurs and entrepreneur resources like coaches and cohort groups and educational resources so that you can have all of that support you need and never feel that sort of sadness around no one understands what I'm going through and I don't know who to reach out to for help.
Okay, that's a great tip. And really quick before we go back on course, so you've originally talked about building that community of like people that you need and different businesses that you need, like your banker. Who are the other resources that need to be in that community?
Absolutely. So your entrepreneurial ecosystem in your city that you live in is going to be a great resource. So like if you're in Fort Worth, check out Sparkyard. Sparkyard is an amazing resource. If you're in Dallas, check out Dallas Build. These are entrepreneurial ecosystems that are supported by the cities that are very, very focused on helping you build strength and community behind your business. And they're there to help you. They don't cost extra money, which is always the right price for a small business, you know.
Okay, so we were gonna go on track about how to prepare. So this is building metrics, tracking sales. So can we go into that and start talking about this?
Absolutely. So when in the beginning, what I see a lot of business owners do is they forget that thinking towards the end. But when you get towards the middle end of your business, whatever that may look like, you're going to need the numbers to support any decisions you make, whether it's going out and seeking funding or trying to get someone to work with you on acquisition. You need numbers. That's the base bottom core of what business is. But it's amazing how many small business owners don't track the first year or two of their businesses simply because they're lost in the day to day, because it gets really hard those first few years to get all the pieces moving. So being able to track, who your clients are, where they're coming from, what are the things that are selling, because it's been a shock to me in my own personal businesses that it's not always what you think it is. There are some things that get a lot of attention, but they don't actually generate numbers. So being able to genuinely speak to what makes money for your business and where your customers come from is really an altering conversation when you're looking to acquire money in any way.
Okay, so building metrics, tracking sales. Now let's talk about the documents. I mean, I know that's such a huge part of it. Is I feel like people kind of turn around and are like, oh wait, I don't have any of this. I don't know where it is. How do we set up like to prepare for success?
Absolutely. It's a good question to ask, and it's one that nobody talks about until you absolutely desperately need to find those documents and no one knows where they are. And I've had situations where either I'm working with a business personally in their business, or I'm helping support them and build a plan to move forward. Being able to access all those documents makes all the difference. So I always suggest from the very beginning, pick something. It doesn't matter whether it's Google or whether it's Microsoft based, whatever it is, whatever your storage system is, set reminders on your calendar to make sure that you're tracking everything and you're scanning everything that you need to and saving them out of your emails and making sure that you have one centralized location that's at least semi-organized so that you can find them if you need them, or when you bring new people on that you get to help grow your business, they need to be able to find your documentation.
So this documentation, what are examples of things that people commonly can't find or misplace? So what are some top documents that they just forget?
Absolutely. Your original business filing where you get your EIN, when they send you that piece of paper that has your EIN, which is your sort of official, I exist for the government business, most people lose that. I know that sounds really extreme, but most people lose it, and they only will send it to you one time. And they tell you on the piece of paper, you must retain this document. And this last year, with all of the CARES Act funding, there were a lot of people that struggled to get what they needed to be able to survive simply because they couldn't prove all the documentation that they needed to be able to access funds. So this was a really extreme scenario where if you didn't have what you needed, it was bad.
Wow. I mean, I couldn't imagine, but I believe it, especially with this last year, business is not expecting to have to turn to funding. And all of a sudden being like, wait, this is my next move.
Yes, because especially in a disaster, like that's what I've done a million talks in the last year about how to prepare for disasters. And this last year is categorized as a disaster for most businesses. And being able to find those documents on the fly in the moment when you really need them, it does matter.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. I mean, wow, that's such good advice. Okay, so we're talking about funding. So how do you know it's the right time to look for funding for your business? Do you have some tips or triggers for that?
Absolutely. One of the things to consider is what is the project that you're trying to execute and what is the total cost going to look like for getting to where you need to be? Because whether you're going to a bank or some sort of alternative funding, or you're seeking angel investment or some other type of investment group, you definitely need to understand exactly what the scope of what you're trying to accomplish is. And if you can't answer those questions, you're going to have a hard time accessing funding. So that's where that whole leaning back on that planning component of think about where you want to be and then make a plan to get there, because you need to be able to answer the questions and think about the big picture for what it's going to cost, so that you can start realizing what you need incrementally along the way, because you may not need all of the funding in one lump. You may just need to figure out where you need infusions of cash to be able to scale and build the business you're trying to build in the end.
Okay. And so on that note, what are the questions that businesses need to ask to make sure it's the right fit for them? Are there any red flags?
Absolutely. So the first question to ask, which weirdly does not get asked very often, is what is the percentage rate on the money that you're giving me? Because if you're borrowing money, you're always paying for that. So you want to understand how much you're paying for it, and if there are any perks to utilizing that resource for that funding. So if you're going through a bank and you're taking out, say, $100,000 loan to help scale your business to the next level, is there some sort of perk they can give you with credit card processing or some other additional thing that they can help you do to grow your business? And trust me, those resources are out there, but a lot of times you have to ask the question and know that they're there for you for the taking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's such a good piece of advice. So I want to ask this. I don't know if you can answer it. So what's the difference between going for an investor, an angel investor, versus going to the bank?
Absolutely. So the difference is how much of your company you have complete and utter control over. So anytime you bring in investors, they want to have thoughts and input and ownership of components of your business dependent on how invested they are. So that's something that we always advise people to think through before they make the ask, is understand what they need in return. Lots of angel investors are very willing to contribute their business knowledge and their experience to your business along with their investment, but you have to make the ask. You have to understand kind of what you're trading for the money. So if you borrow from a bank, you're spending money to have that money. But if you are trading it to an angel investor, you're giving up a little bit of control. So you want to make sure that it's a good, even exchange for what you need to grow your business.
Okay. And so where do you find these investors, this resource of banks? How do you go about finding those people?
So as I mentioned, reaching out into your entrepreneurial ecosystems around you, they are set up to help you be able to navigate that to the best of their ability for where you're at in your business, because every business has such unique needs. Engage in that community, reach out. There are plenty of people like myself that are very heavy participants in that little bubble of activity. And we really, really want to help you understand the scope of what it looks like to access funding and how to do it successfully.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that I didn't cover today, or is there any other like top red flags, questions that need to be asked, documents that need to be found? What did I miss?
So no, absolutely. I mean, honestly, being able to have a business plan and business financials when you go for seeking funding, that is something that when I ask that question, most of the time the answer is no. And if you're really truly a prepared business owner, the answer should be yes. Because if the answer is no, you honestly don't know what the scope of the money you're asking for is. You don't know exactly how much you need. And that's going to make it harder to get any money, because they want to understand that their investment in you, whether it's a bank or a private investor, is safe. So if you could speak to all the metrics of your business, be able to give them a plan and lay out repayment plans or lay out everything you're going to be doing, they're going to feel a lot more safe, because any kind of investor, they're looking to mitigate risk, and you coming in as prepared as you could possibly be is one of those mitigating factors.
So what does that plan look like? I know that's a lot. That's a deep question, but like, can you give us a very high level view?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So in a business plan, we want to be able to see what your operational plans are. Do you have SOPs or standard operating procedures in place that are going to guarantee, at least to some degree, smooth operations as you grow and scale? Do you have projections created for what happens when you get this infusion of cash? Because we want to understand, if you're asking for $100,000, how are you allocating those funds? Because that's a big chunk of money. And as we all know, if you're in small business, it is easy to burn through money. And if you don't have a plan, it's very, very simple to not realize that you've spent as much as you have and not reached the goal you originally set. So coming in with those business projections, usually 2 to 3 years for the scope of whatever money you're taking on, is going to be really helpful, both for the lender or for the investor, and for you, because then you can create a really strategic plan about what you're doing with that money and how to achieve the goals you're setting.
Yeah. Whenever you're talking about this, I always think like Shark Tank.
That's exactly. And I always tell people to think about that, because honestly, like when they're having those conversations with the pitch contestants, they're saying, you know, I'm willing to buy 5% of your business for this, and I'll contribute this. So it's the I'll contribute this component that I always tell people to think about, because even on Shark Tank, they do that. They say, and I'll bring to the table these type of, you know, investors and these type of interests. And, you know, so ask those questions, because it's a legitimate part of getting funding for your business. And if you don't ask it, it makes you seem like you don't quite know what you're doing. They want to hear it. They want you to ask questions.
So that's great to know, though, because you don't want to come off like unknown. I mean, not like you don't know what you're talking about, but that's great because you come off educated.
Yes, and it speaks to you knowing what your business needs to be successful. So one of the most common things that business owners come to is people like you, people that are amazing at marketing and reaching out and getting interest. The small business owners may be amazing at what they do specifically, whatever service they offer or product they create. They may make the best that there is, but they may not know how to get that in front of the people that want to purchase it or participate in it. So a lot of times that's the ask that they're making when they're going out and seeking funding is, I need help figuring out what marketing really looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One final question that we just received. What's the difference between an SBA versus a bank loan?
So one is going to be backed by the government, which means you have different types of securities, but you also have different types of requirements as far as the information you have to submit to secure the loan. Because as you might imagine, a government-backed loan, they want to feel really safe, but it also makes the bank feel safe. So the banks prefer to do that type of lending in some cases because it means they have that extra layer of security. So it's definitely something that you should ask questions about and be prepared for. Like one of the things that I've had bankers tell me is they prefer a client that comes in and says, what do I need to do before I apply? Not, I'm ready to apply, tell me. You know, they want you to come in and ask questions so that when you land on their desk, it's a super efficient and thorough interaction the first time so that everybody gets what they need.
Yeah. Okay, whoever watched today, make sure if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. We are almost at our time, so if anybody has any questions, please make sure. I see we have quite a few different viewers on here, so thank you for watching. Holly, is there anything else that we didn't touch on today?
Not specifically. I just always love to drill in the fact, build your community, know who's around you, know what the resources are. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, ask questions. It gets lonely. That is a universal factor in being an entrepreneur. So know that you are not alone. We are all here to support you. You just have to let us know you need it.
Yes, and Holly's wonderful, everyone. Make sure to connect with her on LinkedIn. And Holly's a great business resource, and that's why we feel like we get along so well, because you're both business resources that we're out to help the little guy. And we are here for you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact Holly or Legacy Purchasing Group. Thank you so much, Holly, for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day. Bye.